Hey everybody, welcome back to Michael Clarida Arts. Very glad you stopped by here in the studio today. Coming to the end of the year, I am endeavoring to do more and more drawing videos because that's ultimately what this channel is about. Kind of got off kilter, off skew, off left of center, so we're going to kind of adjust some things coming into the new year. Going to be doing a lot more drawing videos. Going to be releasing the tutorial series on how to draw. Learning how to draw, very excited, going to be releasing that soon. But today I just wanted to do a warm-up drawing. And drawing is one of those things that I think as illustrators and artists, if you are in the field, that is kind of your bread and butter. Now there are artists and illustrators and assemblers that do not quote-unquote traditionally draw using pencil, but they do draw digitally, and I encourage you as a viewer, if you are endeavoring to do something in the art field, that you at least learn how to communicate visually using drawing or some other type of media. So what we're going to do today is we're going to draw an animal. I am an animal illustrator at heart. I'm also a character designer. I've done a lot of drawing of animals, and they're kind of my jam. So we're going to be doing cats today, different cat poses, and hopefully you'll kind of gain a perspective of my view of what drawing quote unquote is. It is a communication vehicle to express ideas and really, gosh, just art, right? Art. We equate drawing with art, and I think that doing it every day is important. If you don't do it every day, that's perfectly fine. You can do it every other day or every other day. Just try and work in some type of drawing component into your life, sewing back into yourself, and I think that you'll see improvement over time. So let's go ahead and get started in the today's warm-up, drawing cats. Okay, as with every exercise we do, I kind of give a foundation with regards to tools and paper and overall setting. So this is my standing drawing desk. I've got a computer stand here, and I've got my toned Strathmore paper. I like working on toned paper because it kind of gives me a medium value to push and pull some of those lights and darks. So, yeah, and we'll be using the Koh-i-Noor colored pencil. As you see, I like this pencil. I've used it a lot. This is the vermilion color, and this is woodless because you don't see any wood there. And this might be my backup here. This is the dark blue Koh-i-Noor Progresso woodless colored pencil. So, why cats? So, first of all, cats are not easy. Cats are one of those things that I look at and I'm just so enamored by them. I've never owned a cat because I'm a little allergic to cats. And I typically, whenever I encounter cats, they know that. And they love me. They're like, ooh, you're allergic to me? Oh, then I've got to rub all over you. And whenever that happens, that I inadvertently rub my eyes or something like that, and yeah, it becomes a whole situation. Now, I love cats because they're so, gosh, they're so awesome with regards to what they look like, first of all, how they move, and just overall really cool. I've had dogs all my life, and I've been around cats, but I've never quote-unquote owned one. And again, maybe later on in life, my body chemistry will change and I'll be able to own a cat because they're awesome. They're really cool. And they're not easy to draw either. Yeah, they're challenging from my viewpoint. I have challenges with them. I have drawn a lot of cats, from big cats to small cats to character cats. I actually did a whole series of cats cats versus dogs. If you do hear something in the background, that is my heater, because the temperature up here in the Appalachian Mountains is unpredictable at best, but we're having a weather change. It's very rainy right now, and my apologies if you do hear that heater come on, because it is getting very cold up here. We're talking highs in the 30s, lows in the teens, so hopefully that heater won't bother you too much. Anyway, I digress. So yeah, I've done a lot of cats. I did a whole series of cats for my idea that I had, cats versus dogs, and I just had a grand time with character cats. I love pushing and pulling those forms and having a lot of fun with them, and I'm sure you do as well. So yeah, cats in general are really cool. So what I'm doing right now is just doing a quote-unquote roadmap of where I want things to be placed, and then I will go and start fleshing out some of those appendages, the forms that make up the feline. As you see, we've already started kind of getting an idea of exactly where I'm going with this. It's going to be standing on a rock, and let me see, kind of his back comes up, his arm. So it is very important to note that it does take a quote-unquote degree of knowledge of anatomy to really do these things quickly and efficiently. I know just by drawing mammals, certain mammals from dogs to bears, drawing a lot of bears, drawing a lot of dogs, drawing a lot of cats, and with that comes that knowledge of knowing where things go. And yeah, I think that anatomy is important. It is not the only thing. You often have to consider that in anatomy there's some quote-unquote norms, and then there's extremes. So like whenever you do character design, the characters don't quote-unquote live in reality. Something similar to this particular character right here, Stitch. Although Stitch is a creature, there is a skeleton inside. So you have to consider where stuff goes. Arms, legs, heart, liver, head, cranium, brain, eye cavity, stuff like that. And when it comes to mammals, that kind of norm, you'll have things that kind of go in between different animals. So if you've drawn a dog, you can really translate over to a cat, even though cat's anatomy is a little more leaner. You'll still be able to draw things because you have the legs, right? Here's the elbow right here, it comes down, here's the wrist, right? And here's the tail, you have the spine, comes to the skull, comes to the shoulder and the clavicle. Here's the paw. So these things really help you when you draw animals a lot. So I definitely encourage you to brush up on your anatomy and your animals. Definitely do that, because it'll help you overall. Let's go ahead and do this, because he's got that arm, shoulder comes around like that. Okay. Here, and you got that paw right here. We can kind of shade that in a little bit because it's kind of pushed back a little bit. And we've got this ear. Comes here. You see, I will go in different places to kind of balance things out a little bit. And then as I come up here, let's see here. Maybe some foliage. And then you have this grass little knoll right here. And then you have the rock that comes up, kind of hides a portion of that very back leg, and then it comes around, and then his front paw kind of breaks that plane of the rock. Okay, we have this comes around. Okay, it comes around like that. cavity, and the eyes. Feline's eyes are really large in comparison to, if you ever see a cat's skull, which I do not have on hand, a cat's skull. Alright, here we go. I just put in just an indication of these eyes. If you ever see a cat's skull, you'll understand what I'm talking about. It's just got very large eye cavities. Comes around. And we'll do this. Oh, kind of looks like a little heart right there in front. Comes around. We've got these ears, large ears to hear, obviously. And directional. They can change direction, which is really cool, based upon the sound they hear. Okay, comes around. Okay, we'll have this. Go down, and then you have the paws right there. And it's just about to go and placed on something. Let's get this ear up. Go ahead and flesh out some of the other items here. Yeah, so basically I do this as maintenance. Just like with anything in the world that is in the world, it needs some type of attention. If you don't give something to attention to something, it will end up, quote unquote, falling into disrepair, or it will die. Just like if you have a plant. I joke with my wife because she has very good intentions with regards to plants, but she doesn't have the follow-up, right? Plants, it's a living thing, and it takes time to be able to foster a plant and to make it work, and she's just not very good at it. We bought a plant, a couple plants actually, they're on our front porch in the farmhouse, and they were kind of you just plant them and that's it. And those are kind of her jam, so she likes those. She likes to look at them after she plants them, and that calls it a day. But just like with anything in the world, drawing, a skill, you have to keep practicing the skill, and that's what basically this is. This is starting in the morning, getting your arm and your hand working with your brain, and that will set you up for the rest of the day. I am a huge proponent of maintenance, car maintenance, house maintenance. House maintenance, since we bought a new house, seems to be a continual thing. Yeah, and you move into a new house, and lo and behold, you have a couple leaks. And you're like, what? Where did the leaks come from? Oh my gosh. Yeah, so whenever you buy a house, those of you who have not bought a house, this is your area, and you don't want water in it, obviously. And whenever something does happen, you want to address it quickly. So that's what we're in the middle of doing. We had a couple little things happen, which is no big deal, and we'll get those addressed. So yeah, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have to put a little bit of value in here, tilt the pencil on its side, maybe shade in a little bit of light source upper right hand side, kind of shade, give a little bit of form. And we've got a pattern, which that's another thing, cats are really beautiful. Just the patterns, the uniqueness, the different breeds, I just love. And the fact that they have such character, that really kind of adds to the quote-unquote fun of owning a feline. And this is based on not experience, but based upon friends' experience, them telling me, oh, I can't have a Christmas tree because my cat will destroy it. So, again, I started out pretty simple, started out with an idea, started out with kind of a moment, kind of a flash moment. I wanted to create a cat in a pose. So I started out with a circle, then I moved to some anchor points. So what I do is I will start out with a simple shape, maybe another simple shape. Here's another simple shape right here, a bean, or maybe a cylinder. Then I'll have anchor points, and anchor points are important because they help the drawing move forward based upon where you place those anchor points. So you'll have the head, and then you can proportion the body based upon the size of the head. Now, it is your drawing. You can do whatever you want, but we're going for more of a stylistic realism here. I could have made the head really big, and then that would have been more or less a character design. But this is, again, just an exercise to warm up in drawing. But anchor points are really good because, again, you refer back to that anchor point. You'll see me, I'll go and I'll do this shape, and maybe I'll have just an indication of the legs, and then I'll refer back to the head, and then maybe I'll adjust here. Maybe this needs to be pushed out a little bit. Maybe I need to have some fur come down. Maybe there's some fur right here because that neck fold right there because the hair stands up, because based on the pose. And I just keep adjusting, and that's drawing is not a mystery. And that's one of the things that I'm going to talk about in my tutorial coming up, how to draw, the basics of drawing and learning how to draw. Drawing, in and of itself, is a series of decisions. It starts out, where am I going to put this line? Where am I going to put the shape? How am I going to build the drawing? And that's basically what drawing is. It is a series of quote-unquote decisions based upon what you're looking at or the experiences you've had. And if you continue, you'll streamline and you'll create efficiencies based upon your experiences and how much effort you put into this thing we call drawing. Efficiencies being what materials you use, what paper you draw on, where you start, how your mid effort, right? This whole midpoint, where I'm at the midpoint. And then whenever you get to the end, how I'm going to wrap things up. And it's just decisions. That's all it is. And I don't mean to oversimplify things, but it really, if you put things in a way that you can understand them, then you can repeat them. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying. Okay? You can be like, I have no idea. I've never drawn anything in my life. What are you talking about? So, yeah. Decisions. Coming towards the end of the year, I definitely am excited for 2026. And we will be doing a lot on the channel, a lot of changes, but good changes that will assist you in your endeavor to become an illustrator, artist, 3D sculptor, learning programs. We're going to be doing a bunch of things that I think you guys will really enjoy. Getting some really cool. Now at this stage, I could go a couple ways. I could keep going traditionally, or I could switch over to another drawing, which I'm probably going to do, or I could really doll this up and take a picture of it and drag it into a program and refinalize the line work and create an incredible drawing rendering. But for this purpose, today is a warm-up. So that's what we're doing. So we'll add this to the collection of warm-ups. Here we go. Done. And here we are on the next page. I'm going to switch over to the blue because my red, it's getting very nubby. So we're going to go ahead and go the blue, which is completely fine. We're going to go and do a simple, so we're going to say here. Okay. Okay. Again, starting out with something very simplified. I never want to overcomplicate the drawings to the point where I can't recover. That has happened to me many, many times, which I'm sure it has happened to you as well. You kind of illustrate yourself into a corner or draw yourself into a corner, and then you're very unhappy. And that is not a good place to be. Being unhappy in drawing is frustrating because you get to a point and you're like, oh, this drawing is going to stink. I don't want to continue. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm frustrated. Why couldn't I do it right the first time? And I think that that really stems from our inner want to do things correctly the first time around. And I can definitely say, as my voice cracks, that I am a huge proponent of failing faster. And that is a phrase that I have used many times in the past. And I think that failing faster is something we all need to learn how to quote-unquote do. Because getting some of these bad drawings or quote-unquote learning drawings, I'm not to call them bad. I don't want to call them bad because even though they might be bad in your viewpoint, they are part of the process. You can learn so much from a bad drawing, right? So, again, I'm doing the anchor points. And certain here comes down. These ears, his head comes here and it swoops back like that. Yeah, the anchor points are important because it gives you a foundation to kind of relate everything else to. Even though I did do, you can see just simple, you see how messy this is. Messy, 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 messy. So whenever I do drawings, I think of it in terms of three-dimensionality. I think of the drawing in terms of a sculpture. So I'm thinking form even when I haven't landed on the final form. I know that this is round. You've got this huge patch of fur comes out like this. And it comes down to this leg. And that goes down. You have this lovely patch of fur that comes here, and then you've got this long leg. This front leg that comes around, you got this other leg that comes here, and then you got the paw that I won't be able to see because I've got this tail. It's going to come up. Comes around, but I will be able to see some of the paw right here, and I'll have the front of the leg come around like that. I get a lot of people asking me about fur. How do I draw fur? I'm so frustrated. If you think of fur in terms of a quote-unquote simple shape instead of individual strands, then you will realize that less will always be more. Now, can you draw every single strand? Sure, but you need to understand that fur does have form, and if you concentrate on the form first, it will almost draw itself. I can hear people out there. What are you talking about? Draw itself. You can't. What are you talking about? So basically what I'm saying is, don't major in the minors. That means if you concentrate on every single strand, it's going to look like a complete and utter mess. So if you draw like this whole tail, I understand there's a strand that comes down like that, the spinal column that comes here and then it goes into the tail. But if I treat it like a shape and it becomes organic, and then you realize, okay, the edges, I don't have to draw individual strands. I can go ahead and just keep it simple, and then if I come into the interior, and maybe he's got a white patch on the back here, and just keep it simple. Yeah, you'll be fine. You got this. Okay, let's go ahead and get the face. Again, form, right? Height, width. Oh, I can't stick my hand inside of the paper. Oh. But you have to mentally wrap your eyes and your head around the fact that this is a form. Just like if you were to look at a basketball and it's got those lines on it, even a picture of a basketball. You identify those and you say, okay, form, round, sphere. So if you start doing that with pretty much everything you see, then you'll start changing the way you view the world, and you will actually learn how to draw. Drawing is basically changing the way you see and making the small decisions to represent what your brain is trying to put together. It's all a bunch of decisions. You can see I've really been thinking about what I'm going to say in my tutorial. Because I had to literally stop and think, okay, how would I explain this to somebody who doesn't understand? So definitely think about that. Give a little bit of, maybe he's like a pillow or something, I don't know. It's on the ledge. Get a little bit of shading down below. Yeah, I keep getting notifications on my watch. Wintry wake-up call. You're going to freeze your giblets off. What? I want my giblets. I want them giblets. I need them. Just kidding. But it is saying it's going to get very cold here, which it is. It's funny, you look at the hourly, because I'm a big proponent of weather because we live in the mountains. And if the roads freeze, you can't go anywhere because they don't salt the roads. You can fly off the mountain. Yeah, they don't have street lights here in the mountains. They don't have guardrails. It's kind of dangerous, to be honest with you. When I moved up here, I was like, what do you mean they don't have street lights? It's going to be super dark. And it is. And it's beautiful because you can see the stars. But weather plays a big factor in travel and overall safety of the community. And when you look at the hourly, and it says the temperature keeps going down. So it starts out at 45, and then by noon it's 35, and by 5 o'clock it's 28. And you realize all the water that has been on the road from the massive rain that we received, it's going to freeze. So tomorrow is going to be interesting. Anyway, so let's make this some grass. Maybe he's outside. Yeah. Grass can be treated very similarly to fur if you understand that grass still clumps and shapes. So even though there's a ton of leaves, even though there is a bunch of complexity, depending on your distance from said complexity, you can basically do effective grass and foliage using that same methodology. Less is more. There's nothing wrong. First of all, there'll be no wrong choices in art. Art is an expression of your will and your experience, and if you want to draw something the way you want to draw it, that's your choice. But in the context of foundational items, such as learning form, shape, line, composition as it applies to kind of teaching, then you realize, okay, shape, I'm going to place it here. I'm going to go ahead and create this as a shape. And then you can go on the details and you can just put a couple leaves here and there. And there's nothing wrong. Even if you want to do something like this, give it a little bit more life. Nothing wrong with that at all. Suddenly he's outside. And here we are on our final drawing. I typically like to do 3 drawings just because by the 3rd drawing I'm pretty warmed up and I got exactly what I needed to out of the process. And yeah, so I know I've been a little cryptic with regards to the new tutorials coming out, but that's because I don't want to give away the goods. So yeah, I've been wanting to do tutorials now for a very, very long time, and it's just been so busy with my professional job that I haven't been able to do it. And another reason why is because, you know, everybody says this, I don't want to do it unless I do it right. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of truth to that, but because there's a lot of people out there that do tutorials. I mean, it just shows them drawing, and you're like, dude, you didn't teach me anything. I just watched you draw. I can do that on your channel. And I wanted to structure things in a way that really helps people. I remember whenever I was in school, YouTube didn't exist. I had to go to the library. Library, for those of you who don't know what that is, that's a special place in town, and they have books, and it's really cool. And you're like, wait a minute, is that my grandpa's place? No, that's not your grandpa. That's a library. And yeah, they had books, and I used to go and spend tons of time really learning from the masters. Masters being the people that I wanted to learn from, like your Rembrandts, your Van Gogh, your Matisse. Really diving in to understand what they had to go through as well. And going to the museums and doing all of that really fun, cool stuff. I love museums. Me and my family, we always do a quote-unquote learning vacation. And we go to museums. I know we're nerds. I'm sorry. We just love, and aquariums. Oh my gosh. I literally, if I could, I'd live in an aquarium because it's so beautiful. It's the fish. I'm a fish guy, right? I like fish. Anyway, so that's what I wanted to do with my tutorials. I wanted to teach things that were relevant. I messed up this arm talking to you. Stop talking to me. Anyway, I I wanted to do things right, and that were, you know, things that you could use, and as a foundational tutorial to really help you, even if you're a budding professional and you want to kind of go back to the beginning. I love that phrase in The Princess Bride, for those of you who have watched that. If you haven't, then I definitely encourage you, go watch The Princess Bride. It's a lot of fun. And it says, one of the characters says, Vicini told me I needed to go back to the beginning. When I get lost, I need to go back to the beginning. And I've used that so many times in my career. When I get lost, Vicini told me I need to go back to the beginning. Yeah, because Inigo Montoya, he something happened. He got lost per se, and he had to go back to the beginning. So he went back to the community that he came from, and he ended up finding his friend. So I always say, if I get lost, I need to go back to the beginning, which means go back to the foundation. Go back. And as a professional, it's important that you go back to those foundational items to reconfirm and affirm those things that help you. Form, line, shading, value, color. I mean, basically the principles and the elements of art. And those things will always be good. So, yeah, kitty cats. Kitty cats. I'm probably going to be one of those old guys that's going to be surrounded by animals because I love animals. We got a doggy recently, and it has been a delight in quote-unquote raising him. We got him as a rescue because I'm a firm believer in rescues. And we couldn't have a dog for the longest time, and it was so sad. Just because of situations and being renters, we couldn't get an animal because renters don't want animals to destroy their property, and then they charge an extra $200 a month. And anyway, so we didn't have a dog for the longest time, and the dog we did have back whenever we had our home in Orlando, he was amazing, and then he passed away, unfortunately. It was very sad. he got poisoned by some food, and we found out later that Purina had a bad batch of food that had gotten out, and they had a recall on it, and our dog consumed it unknowingly. Of course, we purchased it from the grocery store and fed it to him, so we tried everything we could, but at the end of the day, he ended up leaving us, and it was sad. And then we ended up getting another dog that was a little too frisky for the family, and he bit my son twice in the face. So he went back and got adopted by somebody else that could handle him a little bit better. And so then we didn't have a dog for 14 years. So it was very sad because I love animals. And we got our dog, and we're very happy. Yay, dogs! And he is a frisky guy. We love him. He's a whippet. If you guys don't know what a whippet is, it's not an action. You don't whip the dog. He is part greyhound, miniature greyhound, and he is awesome. He's so loving. He loves our family. We rescued him. And I remember the day we went to pick him up, I was like, we're going to change your life, buddy. So I love dogs. Anyway. So, anyway, going back to the drawing itself, at that stage, now, I have no problem with my drawings looking like garbage at this stage, because I'll go back in and I'll just start correcting. So I've got this that comes around here, got the fur comes up here. Just don't be stressed, is what I'm trying to basically say. Don't be stressed about your drawing. Need to sharpen this really quick. Get a little more detail in the mouth area. That'll help shore up some of these other areas that I kind of messed up. Here we go. A little bit better balance. And we've got these. If you've ever seen a cat look like this, my advice is, could be playing. More than likely, he's in frisky mode. Stay away! Anyway. Again, maybe we're outside. A little bit of shading here. Come down. Come down. There, goes like that. Get that. Yep. Kind of fun. And two, don't be afraid to quote unquote draw through. I think a lot of times we don't consider the rest of the drawing when we're working on one area. Don't be afraid to draw through, meaning this comes here, this comes up, and maybe you have a little bit of the bottom that shows here, and that arm will come up and around, and this arm is on the other side, and just consider maybe it goes up and down. And that'll help you place things a little bit better. In your drawing. Yeah, I still got that rear leg. And then finally, the rear leg. Now this is a very important, so it comes up, that curve comes up, and then you've got that other leg that comes around. So I want to make sure and position it correctly to kind of balance the weight, because he's got this right here to kind of balance his lean, because he's leaning this way toward us. So now I'm going to have that rear come around right there. And then we'll go ahead and shade that in a little. Maybe he's kind of stepping on a berm, a little bit, a berm. Yeah. Maybe he's got some little bit of a pattern. Coming around. And he's got some spots, and he's got this big, kind of a darker stripe down the back of him. Come here. Come here, it's got that. There we go. Maybe got some black tips on his ears with a little swirl-a-doo right there. That is a proper art term for those of you who are not in the know. Means a little swirl-a-doo on the end of an ear. Earmark that. Gonna need that for later. Just kidding. That's not an art term. Okay. And then we got little... comes around. It's always funny. And I noted this as I get older, you attract certain people. We've had friends, and typically we're friends with cat people. I don't understand why. I'm a dog person, yet I'm friends with cat people. Probably because secretly I just want to hold him. I just want to hold him and snuggle. Snuggle. Okay. And that pretty much wraps up today's drawing with Michael. That's right, drawing with Michael. We're having a little fun. Yeah. And then, so we'll have this comes up, down. Like, you want some of me? I got a whole basket. I got a whole basket for you. Shadow right here. There we go. And that pretty much wraps today's warm-up. And that wraps up today's warm-up of drawing cats. Warm-ups, very important in my life, and hopefully a habit that you will adopt, because literally everything you see behind me, as well as pretty much every piece of artwork in my office, is a direct result of a quote-unquote warm-up. Very important in the grand scheme of improving daily. I encourage you to adopt, because typically warm-up can be 15 to 20 to 30 minutes, depending on what you want to get out of that particular drawing. Especially if you're a professional, definitely invest in yourself. Invest in yourself frequently, whether it be drawing every day, doing some type of art exercise, or watching a tutorial and learning. You're continually learning as an artist and illustrator, developing your eye, developing your tool set, and just overall being a better individual. Anyway, so that's pretty much all I had for you guys today. I'll be posting more and more videos similar to this one as we ramp up to releasing the tutorial of the basics of how to draw. So excited. Anyway, thank you guys for visiting. Like and subscribe if you like what you see. And as I say pretty much every single time I wrap up a video, go out and do something that is quote-unquote fun to you, whether it's video games, exercise, go watch a movie, go and invest in that creative tool belt and have life experiences. I can't tell you how many times I've seen young people in particular dive into the phone because that is their primary way to communicate with their friends. And I don't quote unquote see a problem with that, only whenever it becomes the only source. I definitely think you should be out and about experiencing the world. And just know that, yeah, there's a lot out there to experience, and you can gain a lot of knowledge and wisdom by just going outside and looking around. So be encouraged, and we'll see you next time. All right.